I'm going to go through 7 things. The whole thing that prompted me to do this was my sister. She booked a place down in Oak Island, North Carolina for her daughter. And they were going to go see my grandmother. It was her 93rd birthday this past weekend. So they were going to go down and see her. And she calls me and she says, "Do you offer sheets at your houses?" And she knows, kind of what we do for business. And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Do you make the beds for your guests?" I was like, "Yeah." "Do you wrap your linens in like saran wrap?" I was like, "No." And so she FaceTimed me through this entire house that was run by just one of the big property managers down there. I don't have any properties down there. And just kind of went through the entire thing and just showed all the little things that this property manager had not done for them. And a lot of you are doing these things, but there may be some little things in this list that you are doing that may be costing you a review in the future. You may have all 5 stars right now, which is amazing, but at some point you're going to get that guest that's going to complain and give you that 3-star or 2-star or 4-star for little things. So these are just little things I want to share with you guys. And the first one is those amenities. Absolutely, 100%. I think everybody in here is doing this, but if you're not giving the amenities, if you're not making the beds, if you're not, I wouldn't say loading up. You don't want to give like all your toilet paper away because then it can be a little expensive, especially if you're doing that for, 2-3 night stays. But give them enough supplies for them so they don't have to go out to the grocery store, especially if it is a 2 or 3 night stay. Don't just give them 1 roll of paper towels and one roll of toilet paper. Like, give them the supplies and then have like a little emergency kit of things as well. Whether it's little individually wrapped toilet or toothbrushes. This fast really is affecting my brain here. Toothbrushes, maybe some little toothpaste, that sort of thing. You don't want to give them like a tube of toothpaste. That's a big one. You want to get the little ones and then just make sure you throw them out after each person. You never know what people are going to do with that. But same thing though with amenities, beach chairs. If you want to offer beach towels too. One of my rentals that's the top 4-bedroom rental that's not on the beach in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Literally the title of it is Not Your Typical Beach Rental. Not Your Typical Beach Rental is the title of it. And that's because we give towels. We provide those. We provide beach chairs. We provide beach toys. We provide the beach wagon. We don't want to make our guests absolutely pack their entire car to the brim, because that's what I did growing up. Like we would pack our car all the way. So like me and my sisters, I had 3 sisters, we would like barely have any room to move in the car because there was just stuff everywhere. It was beach chairs, it was beach towels, it was, the boogie boards, like all that stuff we had to bring to the beach because we weren't able to, like no houses at the beach would have that, right? And that's typical at the beach, but give those things. Offer those things. And if you're worried about guests damaging it, get a damage waiver. Get like something like Waivo, strsecrets.com/Waivo if you want to check that out. But they will pay. If a guest damages, one of your amenities, they will compensate you for that up to whatever damage waiver you buy, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in some properties. But that's the easy way to, make sure that the guest just needs to show up and they don't have to go out and go buy different things. It's like that when I walk into a new vacation rental and I see there's 1 roll of paper towels that's like, those roll of paper towels that are literally like that big. They're tiny. They've got like 10, strips on them, and you're going to run through it in about 1 spill from my kids. You don't want to do that. You want to offer and make sure you have those supplies, and the beds are made. It's really well done. You've got the throw blankets. You got the throw pillows as well if you want to offer that. Yes, it is a little bit more work on the back end to wash those things, and you absolutely should, but it just makes the stay so much better, so much nicer. So you want to stand out. You want to take pictures of those things as well. You want to photograph those so you are going to stand out and you rank higher on the algorithm in Airbnb and also Vrbo too. So that is number 1. Number 2 is responding immediately. So this is one thing that I've seen new hosts especially miss out on is, they'll get an inquiry or they'll get a question and they don't respond immediately, especially on the inquiry side. If you don't respond immediately on the inquiry side, you got to take, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour plus to respond to one inquiry, because maybe you got to ask somebody about that. You know what that guest is doing? They're looking at other properties on their phone that they wanted, that they're looking at for plan B. So respond immediately. And it's the same thing for while a guest is there. For a lot of you guys that don't have a team, like I've got a team that handles 99% of the guest communications. I would even probably say more than that. And they are able to handle, water leaks. They're able to handle plumbing issues. They're able to handle, maintenance issues, that sort of thing. Hot tub issues, like they're able to handle that. And I still get a 5-star on communication. And nobody has ever said anything about like how we don't communicate well, because we respond immediately and we care, right? If an hour would have gone by, or 30 minutes, or even 5 minutes goes by, and the guest is sitting there on their phone waiting for you to reply, that the overall sentiment of being at that home, being at that property is not as good as if you got an instant response. And, part of it, I think, is probably just me and my obsession over just like doing things quickly, and especially things that, maybe inconveniencing me. I was at a stay in Nashville, Tennessee a couple weeks ago with Sierra and some friends to go see a concert, and there were no hangers. There were no coat hangers. And I was like, whatever, like I get it. Like sometimes the cleaners miss, sometimes like people will take the hangers as well. But then they also didn't have body wash for us. And so I just sent them a message. I said, hey, we've got no hangers and we got no body wash. And I needed to hang my shirt for the next night because it was a concert and we're going on a date. I want to look good. I wasn't able to hang it. And there was an iron, but it was like one of those really small ones. And they responded within 2 minutes. And then we left to go, I think, grab a beer and just walk around a little bit. And we were staying in 12 South in Nashville, which is where we used to live. And we love it there. And then literally we got back an hour later and the hangers and the body wash was in the unit already. And it's just I could have been upset initially, but they responded quickly and they gave me my stuff quickly. So responding immediately, I think, is number 2. And, I think some of you guys may think there is a little bit of grace, but at some point it'll catch up to you. Number 3 is highly photoshopped or facetious about your location. So I've dealt with this a bunch. When you're co-hosting or when you're investing in property, you really want to know that neighborhood and that location extremely well. And who is your guest avatar that you want to attract to that property? Do you think they will feel safe at that property? I've seen it where people have, take on co-hosting deals, nice house, but maybe in a bad neighborhood. And they say in the listing, like, this is an amazing neighborhood. But then, somebody complains and says they don't feel safe, and then they want to leave the property, or they give you a 4-star in location or maybe a 3-star in location. Like, you don't really want to be facetious about where that location is, especially for like who your guest avatar is. It may be close to downtown, it may be close to the beach, but if you're right across the street from a trailer park, or, if you're, which I'm not saying anything bad about trailer parks, but just for that person who is staying there, you want to be conscious of how your location is compared to where maybe your guest avatar who is paying $500 a night would want to stay. So that's kind of the number one thing. And I've seen that happen a few times, especially more in like the bigger cities, not as much in the vacation rental markets. But then part 2 of that is highly Photoshop properties. So I've seen some Instagram reels and stuff like that recently, or maybe stories of people using ChatGPT to really enhance the look of the sunsets or the look of the backyard, extremely green trees. And then the guest shows up and it's very gray and it doesn't look good. And there's absolutely no sunset that would ever happen that is anywhere near the sunset that is in the photos. You don't want to do that, guys. I know it's going to help you get booked better, but at some point you're going to get, you're going to get an unhappy guest, and you're going to get multiple unhappy guests if they show up and it doesn't look like how it does in the pictures. That's why Airbnb has that accuracy rating for the reviews. So don't be facetious about it, and also don't highly Photoshop. If you want to do a little bit of touch up here and there, especially inside the property, I highly recommend throw pillows, throw blankets to give it that pop of color, themed rooms to give it some more pop, but don't Photoshop that stuff in, or else you'll see it in the reviews and people will just immediately be like, oh, this doesn't look as good. All right. You want them to show up and be like, wow, this looks, the pictures were great, but they did these little extra things, like giving the amenities, extra toilet paper, extra sheets, extra towels, that sort of thing. Number 4 is going to be nickel and diming you for add-ons. Airbnb came out with, obviously their off-platform policy, but then also their fee policy a couple weeks ago. If you guys missed that training, just drop policy in the comments. I went through in depth. I also have a reference document you can use that I created. Just drop policy and I will send that to you. But essentially it breaks down, all right, Airbnb is no longer allowing you to charge these fees. So what do you need to do? But then also Airbnb's policy for off-platform bookings is changing. They're using AI to catch you, take people off platform, and that's changing. So if you haven't watched that or don't know about the policy change, just drop policy in the comments and you need to know that. But I hate being nickel and dimed for things like, pool heat. I know you guys in Florida are big about pool heat. Just include it. Heat it for everybody. You want to be that luxury type of property. You want to be, you don't want to have people to make more decisions than they already made on choosing your property to stay at, right? They go through thousands of properties. Well, not thousands. Airbnb gives them a few properties, but most likely they go through many. And especially if you have a big property and it's a big group, the person who's actually booking that property, there's a lot of pressure on them, right? If anybody in here, or let me know in the comments too, if anybody in here has felt this way as well, felt overwhelmed about where to stay. When I'm looking to book a hotel, for me and Sierra, like it takes me time. Like I'm doing some research of like, all right, which place is the best price, but also has the amenities that we want, also has a nice gym. Sierra loves the bathtub. Like I can never see pictures of bathtubs in rooms because you never know what room you're going to get. So I spend a lot of time doing that. Your guest does too. And then on top of that, after they book and they got to pay for pool heat, or they got to make a decision on whether or not, hey guys, do you want us to heat the pool? Or hey guys, kayak rental is being offered. Do you want to rent a kayak? How many kayaks should we rent? 2, 3, Oh, linens aren't included. I still get asked that all the time. Are linens included? And it's because people are used to linens not being included because of these big property managers, right? So number 4, do not nickel and dime your guests for add-ons. Number 5 is not investing every year in something for your property. And when I say something, I mean, if you got a new property that's crushing it and you got the amenities, maybe year 2, you're like, hey, I'm crushing. I just want to keep crushing. I don't really want to have to invest in new things, but keep investing in your property. Linens, they get worn out, especially if you're, 70, 80% booked and you got 50, maybe even 60 stays a year. Get the new linens, refresh your towels, refresh your amenities, those things that you're giving out. Think about new things that are highly perceived value, but maybe don't cost you that much because, you're trying to make your investment back. Have those things. And then one thing I do for my co-hosting clients is every 2 years. So for me, it's every 2 years for my co-hosting clients. Every 2 years, I have a clause in I'll see if I can pull it up here, in my contract that says, I'm going to give you the word for word here so you guys can put it in your contract as well. So it's called the Property Improvement Clause. Number 16, homeowner agrees to engage in a property improvement plan every 2 years with NC stays. In that plan, the homeowner agrees to invest in, and it depends on the size of the property, but like for a bigger property, for the one I just showed you guys, $5,000 at a minimum into depreciating items like linens, pillows, furniture, and other items that NC Stays deems needing replacement or improvement to meet NC Stays brand standards. So you guys need to come back and watch the recording if you didn't catch all that. But that's what I would put in there for your co-hosts and clients as well. You know what? I'll just copy and paste this and put this in the chat. That way you guys who are here live listening can have it. Put that in the comments. So invest in something every year into your property and you'll continuously get those 5-star reviews. You're not going to not invest and get those 5-star reviews year over year, over year, over year. Which also brings me into number 6. So number 6 is getting deep cleans every quarter. And having a deep clean checklist, which should be multiple pages long, on top of like your regular clean checklist. On top of that, you got multiple pages of deep clean things. So, dust under couches, spider webs, like pet hair, organizing the owner closets, pressure washing the deck, hitting the baseboards really good, changing out your air filters, changing out your water filters, deep cleaning the coffee filters. Just an entire deep cleaning checklist that you can go through and your team goes through and knocks out. Because we just had Jamie Lane on the podcast. Jamie Lane's a chief economist at AirDNA, which is the largest data provider in the world. And he said what he sees, especially when hosts get more and more properties, the two things that really affect reviews and review scores and revenue at the end of the day is cleanliness and communication. So I mentioned communication earlier, but cleanliness and communication are the two biggest things that affect revenue. When those ratings go down, the revenue is directly correlated with those two review scores going down. So deep cleans every quarter at a minimum to keep your property up to standards. And then number 7 is over communicating your messaging. I have seen this, my stay in Nashville, I went to with Sierra, I mentioned earlier, that host well over communicated. The check-in instructions, they had literally the check-in instructions, the guidebook and everything. It would have taken me 10 minutes to read through the entire thing. And, it made it really, really difficult. The code to get into the property was 8 digits long. The problem is the code was all the way at the top of that message. So I'm not going to remember an 8-digit code. I'll remember the last 4 digits of my cell phone number. I'm pretty good at that. But 8 digits, that's all the way at the top of this check-in message. I literally, every time I had to go into the property, because it auto-locked behind you, every time I had to go in, I had to pull up my phone. It took me like 30 seconds to scroll all the way up to the top of their message and be like, all right, this is what it is. What I could have done is copy and paste it, send it to Sierra or something like that. I have it in text message. But, you don't want to over communicate and just give your guests so much freaking stuff at the beginning. Like, keep it simple. What are the most important things that your guest is going to need, and give them those things. And there's other little examples too. Another one was when I first launched a Pinehurst property a couple of years ago. Another friend of mine had a property there, and I asked him, I said, hey, what's been your biggest issue with guests in Pinehurst? Because it's golf groups, right? And she said it's guests throwing up in our property. So we charge a throw up fee, and then we also make the guests know, if we have to clean throw up, we're going to charge you an extra $400. And so I put that in my messaging for her. She recommended that. So I put it in my messaging. And after maybe 10 stays, I had 2 people message me and be like, I don't know if I want to stay here, because if people are if you have to message about people throwing up, it's maybe not the place for me. Right? It just doesn't feel good. So little things like that, especially I mentioned fees earlier too, but if you're saying here's all of my house rules in a welcome message, you may want to think about putting that somewhere else. And if you have big problems with it, there's other ways to handle those things. And then lastly, there's some guests that'll message you nonstop, right? And message you about little things. Don't message people. If you see them on the Ring camera doing something, don't like send them a message, hey, I saw you on the Ring camera, or hey, I saw you checked in. Do not say that. Absolutely not. Guests don't want to know that you're watching them. Even if you are, you probably shouldn't be. You know, one thing I ask all of our guests, or my team does, and it's in the automated message, is what time do you plan on arriving so I can expect your arrival and make sure things are good. So, you know, over communicating can also put a bad taste in the host's mouth because they're like, oh, they just messaged me again. What are they going to message me about? Or, you know, in my instance, having to scroll up and read through novels of check-in instructions, right? So some of these things, those are 7 things. So number 1, I'm just going to recap, give the amenities, make the beds, load up with the toilet paper and the paper towels, stop being cheap, respond immediately to your guests. Number 2, number 3, don't have highly, photoshopped or facetious about your location. You want to be real, you want to be accurate, or else you're going to get a 3-star, 4-star on that. Number 4, do not nickel and dime for add-ons like pool heat, linen rentals, kayak rentals. Offer that, include it. If you're worried about ADR, you probably shouldn't be, managing that property, or you should be doing other things to get higher ADRs, not nickel and diming your guests. Number 5, invest in something every single year. Linens, towels, amenities. If you want to go back and get my clause about the property improvement plan, it's in the comments here. I'll probably link it in YouTube as well. And then number 6, deep cleans every single quarter. And then number 7, do not over communicate your messaging and your check-in and your welcome messages, or just over communicate in general. These things are going to cost you at some point. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the comments. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.